by the karma that produces your existence in this type of reality. Their very nature is suffering. Why? Because they come from impure causes. If they came from pure causes, the result would be a body that doesn't suffer like this. And that's the goal of Buddhism. The goal is not to sit and meditate on beautiful flowers while your body dies, slowly degenerates and dies. And you watch relationships fall apart, and other people you love fall apart, torn away from you. That's not the goal of Buddhism. The goal of Buddhism is to radically, to defeat death, to enter a state of deathlessness. How? To get to that kind of state, a Buddha state, an omniscient being state, you have to collect two great collections. Sunam Kitsok, Yeshi Kitsok. Sunam Kitsok is great merit. You have to create very pure causes, good deeds. Now, a person entering a Dharma, kind of like, say, coming to a teaching like this, may come to a teaching with a very selfish kind of motivation. I just want to maybe get a better deal in the next life, or get a better car in this life, or very selfish. That kind of motivation creates a karma that is not so good, that is not so pure. Then they might think, okay, I'm going to come to this Dharma teaching with a thought to get out of all of this suffering. I want out. I really do want out. That's a much better motivation. Out of all of samsara. That would be a Hinayana motivation. They want to get to nirvana. What is nirvana? Everybody's talking about nirvana. It's not a punk rock band from the early 90s. Nirvana is the permanent cessation of all mental afflictions. Forever will you never, ever, ever again have any mental afflictions. How is that possible? Well, you've had to have had a direct perception of emptiness, which is what makes a Buddhist a Buddhist, namely. But back to this motivation. So the perfect kind of motivation to come to this type of teaching would be a Mahayana motivation. Mahayana, great, often translated as great vehicle. Why great vehicle? It's going to get you from the suffering of samsara to the bliss and enlightenment of nirvana and Buddhism. That's why they call it great vehicle. So this kind of very selfish mind that says, I want to get the good enlightenment for me, can be extended to all the beings. You realize that, by God, if I'm suffering this way, everybody around me is suffering just like that. I think I heard once that a definition of a sociopath is a person who is absolutely incapable of feeling for other people. Like, they see people around them and they cannot relate or cannot have empathy for the suffering of others. So you want to get to a state of Buddhahood so that you can be of some benefit for others, because right now we really can't do much. We could maybe give somebody a couple of bucks, get them to a social worker, give them some place to stay, give them a pep talk, but they will still watch themselves grow old, suffer, and die. And that sucks. One of the reasons I first found Buddhism, I picked up a little penguin book, Buddhist scriptures or something like that, and it was the first turning of the wheel of the Dharma, where the Shakyamuni Buddha says, life is suffering, there are causes for suffering, there's an end to suffering, there's a path that I can teach you to get out of suffering. And I'm like, finally, there is one dude who is honest with me. You know, I don't want to hear about the heavens, I don't want to hear about, just finally, there's some dude out there that said, no, this life really is shit. Now, he qualified that. In the second turning of the wheel, he said, no. Everything is empty. Meaning that suffering is empty. The causes are empty. The path, all phenomenon, both yourself and your external reality, are empty. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We covered in the previous weeks renunciation and bodhicitta. Bodhicitta is that, as I just said, that great wish to want to get to Buddhahood to benefit all these beings, but without emptiness, it can't be pulled off. Lord Buddha taught 3 turnings of the wheel. In the second one, he said, all phenomena are empty. What does that mean? And how can it get you to enlightenment? In the monastery, they have a very coveted position, umze, which is what I call Vince here. Vince is my umze, and chanting master. It's like a very, you've been around for a long time, you've learned all the rituals, and you get to be chanting master. Now, Vince's emptiness, in the highest understanding of emptiness, is the fact that there are some colors, some shapes, there are some indications of Vince or umze-ness. But Vince is cannot be a chanting master until, say, the abbot and everybody else agree that there is a chanting master. There is a name given to him and more importantly, a mental image applied to the various collections of parts of Vince that says chanting master. If Vince was a chanting master from his own side, inherently, essentially, when he came out of his mommy, they would be like, oh, Vince, chanting master, because he had a quality of chanting masterness. He, from his side, that quality is expressing itself. That, in a nutshell, is the highest understanding of emptiness. Simplified, mind you, but that's a negative way of describing his ultimate reality. A positive way of describing his ultimate reality would be that he is dependently originated. What is that? Well, some of the Theravada or Hinayana schools, the functionalist schools, say that Vince's dependent origination is the fact that he's based on causes and conditions. Vince, or chanting master, comes from mommy's blood, well, they thought back in the day they thought it was blood, and daddy's semen, and they came together and they produced Vince. He's based on causes and conditions. And to make him grow, he needs water, he needs food, he needs love. That's various causes and conditions of Vince. The fact that Vince has no inherent existence independent of those causes and conditions is his emptiness. He is dependently originated. That is the positive way of saying emptiness. Emptiness and dependent origination are like 2 sides of a coin. One is a negative way of describing that ultimate nature, and one is a positive way of describing it. Now, higher understanding of emptiness, dependent origination, but not the ultimate understanding of dependent origination, is that Vince is dependent upon his parts. Because they had to, there are some things that have no parts, like space. Space is dependent, and they argued about whether space is empty or space is dependently originated. So then they have this understanding that Vince's dependent origination is the fact that he's dependent on his various parts, his head, his arms, and his torso. The fact that you can look amongst those parts and not find any Vince. You can't pull out an arm and find Vince. Those parts put together, along with a mental label, then you can call it Vince. But just that jumbling of parts is not Vince. You can't find any Vince-ness or chanting master-ness amongst those various parts. The highest understanding of his dependent origination is the fact that he will never be a chanting master for me or you until you have a mental idealization in your mind that labels him chanting master. And where does that come from? That comes from unbelievable amount of, an unbelievable lifetimes of seeds put in your mental continuum.